The air hung thick with heat and fear. The sun glared over the savanna, turning every blade of grass into a blade of fire. A deep, ragged roar trembled through the scorched earth, half fury, half agony. A male lion sprawled at the edge of a dried-out riverbed, one powerful paw ensnared in a rusted poacher's trap buried beneath dust. Blood darkened the soil where iron bit into flesh. Flies swarmed. Each desperate pull only tightened the jaws of steel. Not 50 meters away, crouched behind a cracked termite mound, Ranger Elias steadied his breath. His heartbeat hammered louder than the cicadas. He had tracked that roar for miles, knowing it wasn't territorial. It was a cry, but he hadn't expected this. The king himself, wounded, raging, helpless, and somewhere unseen, she was near. The Lioness. Every rescue protocol screamed to retreat. A trapped predator was dangerous. A trapped predator with a mate nearby was lethal. But then the silence broke as a low growl rolled from the tall grass across the riverbed. Her silhouette emerged, golden fur shimmering with sweat, muscles taut with warning. Her eyes locked onto the ranger, not with wild frenzy, but with calculation. She paced, restless, tail flicking like a fuse ready to spark. Each step forward pressed Elias back into instinctive terror. His rifle lay slung but unused. This wasn't a mission of defense.
I'm here to help.
He had come with cutters, rope, and trembling hope. The lion thrashed again. A brutal clang of metal on bone. His roars fractured into guttural gasps. Pain, ancient and raw. Elias winced. He had seen men scream like that on the battlefield, long before he traded war zones for wildlife. Yet this felt heavier. Here, mercy meant stepping unarmed into the jaws of a monarch. The lioness moved first. She didn't charge. She didn't retreat. She circled, positioning herself between Elias and her injured mate. Her ears pinned, her breath sharp. She was shaking, not in fear, but in conflict. He felt it, a choice alive in her eyes. Kill the intruder, or tolerate him. For the sake of the fallen, a distant wind swept through the acacias, carrying ash from a bushfire miles away. The land was dying. The rivers had pulled back months ago, leaving carcasses and cracked salt crust behind. Predators and prey alike limped through the same drought. Survival blurred all lines. Elias stepped forward, slow, unarmed, his palms open to the heat. The lioness snarled, lips lifting just enough to reveal the polished ivory of her fangs. A warning. He froze. The male's paw jerked again against the iron, a sickening scrape. Blood pooled, pulsing with each heartbeat. Then something changed. The lioness stopped pacing. Her muscles eased, not with trust, but with surrender. She lowered herself onto her haunches, eyes never leaving Elias. She was watching, testing, not his courage, his intent. A single breath passed. Then another. He knelt beside the trap. The lion's eyes, they burned with fever, flickering between defiance and despair. Elias whispered, though he knew the animal could not understand words. Still, his tone mattered. Soft, measured, human. He reached for the trap. The lion bared his teeth, a thunderclap of threat. Elias jerked back, heart cracking against his ribs. The lioness stood, ready, a silent blade forged in instinct. One wrong move, and the earth would be painted red. But before she lunged, she hesitated. She turned, not to Elias, but to her mate. A deep, throaty sound rumbled from her chest, not aggression. Something else. Urging. Anchoring. She pressed her forehead gently against the male's mane. A silent pact. Hold on. The lion's growl dulled. His eyes, glazed with pain, fluttered. His breaths turned shallow. He no longer fought. Elias moved again. His fingers touched the iron, hot beneath the sun. The trap was old, built for cruelty. Teeth meant for bone. One wrong pull, and it would snap deeper. He slid the bolt cutters from his pack. Metal. Cold. Out of place in a world of claw and dust. A sudden rustle erupted behind him. Elias spun halfway, but too late. Something bolted out of the thorn brush. 3 figures. Small. Fragile. Cubs. The lioness's cubs. Their speckled coats still soft with youth. Eyes wide with hunger and confusion. They approached their parents with tiny mules, unaware of death's shadow. The lioness rose, not at Elias, but at them. She herded them back with urgent nudges, a stern rumble. Not now. Not here. Her gaze snapped back to the ranger. The message was clear: do it. Fast. Elias's hands trembled as he clamped the cutters around the steel hinge. He pressed with all his strength. The trap resisted. A groaning whine of metal fought back. Sweat darkened his sleeves. The male growled once, weak but warning. Elias froze again, pulse roaring in his ears. He risked a glance at her. The lioness stood only feet away now, chest rising and falling with the rhythm of thunder. Her claws flexed into the dust. Every instinct in her body screamed to end him. But her eyes, those amber eyes, held stillness. An impossible, wild truce. He pressed again. The first bite of metal gave a crack. A snap. The trap split open with a vicious lurch. The lion roared, a sound that shook the wind, his paw ripping free with a spray of blood. His massive body thrashed, more from instinct than strength. Elias stumbled back, landing hard on the scorched earth. Silence. Not peace. The kind before a verdict. The lioness stepped forward, each stride deliberate. Powerful. Elias couldn't move, couldn't breathe. His tool bag lay behind him, useless. This was judgment. She reached the wounded lion, nuzzling the torn flesh gently. He whimpered, not from pride, but pain. She licked the wound once, eyes never leaving Elias. Her growl rolled through the space between them. Go. Elias rose, retreating slowly, never turning his back. She didn't chase. She didn't think. She simply watched as he crossed the riverbed, boots crunching on salt and bone. When he reached the ridge, he looked back. The lioness lay beside her mate, shielding him from sun and scavengers. The cubs crept close, pressing against her flank. The king's breath trembled, but he breathed. A vulture descended in the distance, wings stretched like shadow. She rose with fired, no solemn queen, no helpless guardian. A warrior, unbroken. She roared at the sky, a declaration across the dying plains, mine to protect. Elias turned away, lungs shaking with something nameless. All fear, reverence. In war, he had seen men betray each other for scraps of hope. Here, in the wasteland of dust and drought, he had witnessed the fiercest law of the wild. Not survival, devotion. He would return days later with water, with medicine, with promises he could barely keep. But he knew then, she would decide. She always would. That night, under a sky cracked with stars, he wrote only one sentence in his log. She let me live, because he needed me more. In a world built on claw and hunger, mercy is the rarest act of strength. If this story moved you, subscribe for more extraordinary tales from the wild.